23 years and 9 months since Newcastle were last in a domestic cup final. That's 8,681 days. It's 47 years since our last League Cup final. It's 54 years since our last trophy. And it's 68 years since Newcastle last won a domestic trophy. That was 1955. That was against Manchester City. World War II had finished a decade ago. The Queen was 3 years into her reign. The Beatles were 5 years away from forming. And Sir Bobby Robson was 22 years old. And Kevin Keegan was 4 years old. Basically, what I'm getting at here is that this is a really fucking big deal. And it's a very, very rare occurrence. Newcastle United are in a cup final. What's also a rare occurrence is that every single member of the Toon Under podcast is on the podcast at the same time. Apart from Lee, who's just gone somewhere. So yeah, it's a big week. I am Jack. I am in Brisbane. This is the Toon Under podcast. This is Australia's biggest and best and original Newcastle United dedicated podcast. I don't think when we started this a little over a year ago that we thought we would have a cup final to be talking about this soon. But here we are, the crazy world of Newcastle United. I'm not going to say hello to everybody because there's too many people here, but we'll hear from everybody through the course of this podcast. The plan today is to just talk in general terms about the cup final. We're not going to go too in depth into the teams and who might play and who might not play, because we've got a podcast coming up later in the week with a Manchester United fan to go through the game in a bit more detail. That'll be after their game against Barcelona. So we're going to talk generally about the cup final and what it means to be in this final. And we're going to see if we can get scared or excited or nervous or however we might feel. We've probably got all the emotions going at the moment. It felt like a long time coming. So the Southampton second leg was almost 3 weeks ago now. We've had Premier League games in between that, but we're not going to talk about the Premier League today. The Premier League is a no-go zone today. The final is now 6 days away, and we've got no more matches before the final. Manchester United have still got one match to play. Has it sunk in yet that we are this close to playing in a major final at Wembley? Mark, you're next to me on the screen, so I'm going to come to you first. Has this sunk in yet?
It has. It's getting a little exciting. The nerves are definitely kicking in. I'm kind of in two minds as to which way I think this is going to go as well. So yeah, definitely nervous and excited. Can't wait, but that's also because I'm going to be away on holiday while I'm watching it. So sort of double whammy for me, which is good. But yeah, tough to call. Very nervous about potential winning of said cup, but yeah, I'm sure we'll cover that.
I don't think that for me it really sunk in. Maybe it's probably been this week, like after the Liverpool game, and we're starting to see all of the build-up, and it actually has sunk in that we're actually in the final, and that feeling's gonna keep growing, I think, over the next few days. Dimmy, how about you? Has it sunk in for you yet?
Not really, to be honest. I'm a little bit younger than most of you lads, so I haven't really seen much success, if at all. Well, success for me was not getting relegated most years. That was a success.
None of us have seen success, Timmy. None of us have seen success.
Well, I don't remember. Bottom line, I don't really remember the last time we were at Wembley in a final. So I do remember the semi-finals in the mid-2000s, and I've obviously seen back the game, the last final we've played. But yeah, it definitely hasn't sunk in yet for me, and still trying to dream and try not to get too ahead of myself that we might do it. But yeah, I think it'll 2 or 3 drinks in on Sunday night. I think it'll definitely start kicking in.
Yeah, we'll talk a bit later about the time of the game. There's going to have to be some clever strategies going on around the place to make sure we actually stay awake and a compass mentis to be able to watch the game. Bobby, how do you feel about this? Is it sunk in yet?
Yeah, I think it sunk in a while ago for me, but the nerves have definitely cranked up like Mark. I think I'm almost throwing up every day, constantly looking at things about the final and what's going on. I was with my family, my brother, my brother-in-law, and a couple of mates on Saturday or Sunday, and they're Man United fans, and I think they woke up and finally realised they're in the final. They take it for granted a bit, but they started giving me a bit of ribbing and all that sort of crap. So definitely the nerves are playing funny buggers with me at the moment.
Yeah, and we'll talk as well later about what this means to us compared to our opponents, because as you say, they're no strangers to being in cup finals. Lee, how about you? Is this sunk in? Newcastle playing at Wembley in a cup final in 6 days. Has it sunk in?
Yeah, yes and no, really. Like, obviously, we're thinking about it every day, so that kind of part of your brain's thinking, yeah, this is definitely happening. It's definitely happening. But I think maybe it's just because we're so far removed from the actual physicality of it. You know, actually being in the town and around everybody, it feels a little bit. Feels almost like another game, which is weird to say, but it's just like, well, in the heads, right? So we've got to get a certain time over here. Got to watch it. Who's going to play for the team, right? We want to win, obviously. What the tactics going to be? What the injuries? And then I'm thinking all that, but then somewhat kind of forgetting the fact that it's actually going to be a cup final. And then when you stop and think and imagine if Newcastle's the team lifting that trophy, all the fireworks in the background and stuff going on, then you kind of think, oh, aye, shit. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah. So it's kind of like it's two ways. And then of course, you think about our form's not great and so on. But bit of both. I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely.
Keegan, you're used to seeing your team sort of get to finals or get close to finals. How does this kind of compare? Has this sunk in for you that Newcastle United are in the final?
It has. It probably sunk in at about 4:52 a.m. Sunday morning when someone got sent off, and then everyone was like, "Oh shit, he's not going to play." And then everyone was like, "Oh no, we're playing in a final this next weekend. Our next game's a final." So that's when it sort of sunk in. But it's different. Like you said, I'm lucky enough that my AFL team's been fairly successful in challenging for trophies the last probably 15 years or so. But this is a lot different because I remember in 2007, the first time we actually won the grand final, what that feeling was like, because we'd waited 63 years to win a grand final as well. So, yeah, I was a sprightly 22-year-old or something like that. So I do remember part of the day, not any of the night, but I remember the day. And I remember leading up to it and how nervous and how bad I felt in the guts pretty much the whole week. And like Lee said, we are a bit removed over here, but I'll be a lot different. I think I was actually living there and living each day, and you can't escape it. Whereas here we're kind of lucky where most of the stuff we get's on social media, so we can choose or not choose to escape it. So, but it's exciting week still.
And we haven't had the worry about whether we're going to get tickets, which everybody at home, that was a big drama going on. Some people have missed out, which is really upsetting for them. Most people I know have got tickets, which is good. Most of them are hardcore supporters. So, but I'm aware that some season ticket holders have missed out. So they can't do anything about it. It's the way it's allocated. There's always going to be some people unhappy. Craig, I'll ask you the same question, and I'll ask you the next question as well, which is I've asked you all to think of an answer to this, but has it sunk in, and what does it actually mean to you right now to see Newcastle in this cup final?
Well, I woke up this morning, first thing I thought was, shit, the cup finals this week. That was literally the first thing that was on my mind. And going back to, what was it, the League Cup or the FA Cup semi-final against Man United. Then there was a one against Chelsea in the semi-final at Wembley. The two defeats in the finals against Man United and Arsenal. I remember all those so vividly, and all those emotions and memories came flushing back. And I think, Jesus Christ, what would it mean just to get that win, just to even be there is a massive, massive achievement, because only I predicted that at the start of the season, and I will hold my hand up on that one. It was when that final whistle went against Southampton and we knew we were in it. It was elation, it was joy. But now the realization is here. It's kind of another level. It's like goosebumps every time I go on social media and somebody's talking about it, or someone's created a graphic or little videos being played, and it just pulls at your heartstrings. And I'm loving this week, but I'm also dreading it too.
It's it is impossible to sort of think of much else. I remember after we beat Southampton, it was a little bit of a strange feeling because that game was the second half was a bit strange because Bruno got sent off and we were kind of under the cosh for the second half, even though we were still 2 goals up. But there was that release when the final whistle went and we knew we were going to Wembley. But what does it mean, Bobby? You've experienced your team. I'm going to ask you later about how it actually feels because Newcastle fans don't know how it feels when your team wins something. But we'll ask that later. But what does it mean to you at this stage to see Newcastle in this cup final?
It means a lot, to be honest. It's something we've dreamt about since we started supporting the club, really, and we've been starved of success. So when the chance comes along, the dreams start happening in your head, and you start picturing the players and the coaches lifting up the cup and what that would feel. And you know, you've copped your whole life for supporting a club that no one's really heard of in Australia, and you know, all those sort of emotions. And you know, as you said, like when Richmond won the flag in 2017, it was a bit of that. You know, you cop it your whole life for supporting a club that everyone deems shit, and then they have some success, and it's the greatest feeling. And it's the greatest success in the world. And a bit like Richmond, my wife is actually, for our 10-year anniversary, booked in my tattoo on the 6th of March for a Newcastle United tattoo. So she did that with Richmond as well. So when we were in the final, so she's booked that in. So it'll mean a lot, and it'll mean a tattoo on my leg. So that'll be good. Good
stuff. That's a big call, though. Do you just want to dye your hair yellow instead?
No, I'm not that stupid. The tattoo will be coming regardless. Like, you know, it's going to happen. I love the club no matter they win or lose, but it's a good omen.
Dimmy, you've put the hard yards in following Newcastle. You used to wake up and watch Steve Bruce's Newcastle through the night, getting by on an hour and a half, 2 hours sleep. This must be a real. I mean, we haven't really been close to getting into a cup final in sort of the period of time you've been following the club closely. But what does it mean then at this stage to you to see Newcastle in the final?
Yeah, it means everything to me because, yeah, like you said, there's been a lot of hard yards. Obviously, me being from Australia, haven't lived and breathed Newcastle like some of you boys have who've lived over there and been season ticket holders, but I used to wake up every night or every week to watch the games. Doesn't matter what time it was, 1, 2, 3, 4 a.m., Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Thursday morning, didn't really matter. I'd watch every game. Like I told you before, I used to go to my grandma's house to watch it. I just could not leave without watching Newcastle every single week, and most of it was to my detriment because we were shit and we'd lose, and halfway through the game you'd wonder, why am I doing this? And then you keep watching and you're like, oh, I'm not going to do this again. And the next week you do the same thing. So to be in a final and to be 90 minutes or potentially a bit of extra time away from winning a trophy is just ridiculous. And I've copped so much shit from so many people over so many years. And like you boys know, I've got a list and I just cannot wait to pull that list out. And it might only be the Carabao Cup, but this is hopefully going to be one of many, many trophies that we're going to win. But definitely that list is going to get a workout if we get the chocolates.
You got it pinned on your fridge, haven't you? All the receipts, everything that anyone's ever said to you.
Absolutely, mate. It's a very, very long list.
When Essendon finally come good, I'm going to cop the shittest stunner.
Yes, you are. You're almost top 5 in that list.
All right, Lee, same question. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not like super duper kind of go blow this out of proportion. I think it's nice, obviously. I think we're ahead of where we expected to be, certainly. The positives out of it. I'm the most positive person on this podcast. Everyone knows that. It's not even a discussion. And what was that, Craig? And but you know, it is only the Carabao Cup. It is a final that you can get to in the space of 4 or 5 games, whatever it is. It's not like it's not one of the majors in my opinion. But that being said, it's an indication. I hope that the club is rapidly moving in the right direction after years and years and years of absolute rubbish from previous owners. So really, I think to me, it's a sign of progress, and even if we don't win, you've still managed to get to the final. You still, you've got all the exposure for the club, probably around the world. There'll be lots of people watching. That's all great, and feeds into next season. Whatever happens, it feeds into next season. We kind of set ourselves into the higher level. Can we do it again? And see if we can do one better if we don't end up winning this time around. So yeah, I mean, it'd be great to win it. Obviously, it will be, and I'd be very happy. But I don't know. Something about this just doesn't kind of blow out proportion for me. It's the lesser of the cups. Great to win it. Brilliant to be there in the first place. But I think I'm more interested in how it progresses the club going forward.
Yeah, I think it's fair enough. It's a lot will depend on what actually happens in the game as to how it's seen, whether it's seen as sort of some disaster, or by the end of the day, it's still an achievement that we've got to the cup final. And it's still like a staging post for where we're at. And we're going to talk a little bit later about what it says about the club at this stage of the project. But really what I took from that is that you don't care if we lose this. So you'll be quite happy if we go down on penalties.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. No, I mean, obviously, I don't want us to lose badly. I think that goes without saying. If we do a good performance and we have a good account of ourselves, then maybe we can take that into the rest of the season and into next season as well. But no, I mean, obviously, I want us to win. Obviously,
I just don't lose on penalties. Oh God, I'm getting scared again. Mark, question to you: what does it mean to you at this point?
I've never seen us win anything like the rest of us. I've seen other sporting teams that I've followed, apart from Miami Dolphins, obviously, lift a trophy at least now and again. It's going to be huge. I mean, just to get that monkey off our back, so to speak, where we've got some silverware in the trophy cabinet at long last. I think I've said before where it's that I don't want it to get to the point where we're now kind of pushing for trophies where, in the past, we haven't even tried, let's be honest. We've been happy to go out as soon as we could under Ashley's regime and just kind of like make sure we get survival. I don't want to see us kind of actually try for trophies and come up short and it start to become this psychological barrier as the club's progressing. So for me, yeah, I'm going to be absolutely over the moon if we end up winning this. I'll be gutted if we don't, but I think it represents this huge kind of tick of approval of the new owners, the new manager, the new players. Kind of it sends the project off, and I think it means probably more long-term than it does short term, because as Lee said, it's not like we've won the Champions League or something like that, where we're winning the lesser of the cups, and that will kind of be brought up. I'm sure it's like we'll celebrate like crazy people. I'm sure we will. The streets will be packed. There'll be trophy parades and everything if we do manage to come away with the cup. But I think other fans will take the mick and say, "Oh, look, it's just the Carabao Cup. Nobody cares anymore." Blah blah blah. We do. And that's the top and bottom of it is we care and we want to win this because it's silverware that we've been so starved of for so long. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but I'll be absolutely distraught, I think, if we do lose this. And as you said, like I'm not even thinking about losing on penalties because that's just not going to be good.
I've got to say, my give a shit factor about what other fans think about, I just honestly just won't care. Like if we win this thing, I will not give one tiny shit about what other fans say about it. I've said consistently since I understood football and what Newcastle was that I just wanted to see win one trophy in my lifetime. So this is a really good opportunity to do that, and I think I maintain. I know that we've got these owners and that we're on the path now to success. But Keith Downey said something really interesting on the True Faith live show that they did about how the early cup wins, like he's a Hearts fan and he saw his team win a cup after 20 years or something, and he just said that you don't get back the feeling of the first one. Like, you know, and you could probably ask Manchester City fans as well about which is the most significant for them. They would probably talk about the Aguero in 2012, but they won the FA Cup as their first one, and that really got the, like you said, got the monkey off the back, and it turned them into a club that wins things.
Yeah.
So I think whichever one is first, whether it's this or whether it's the next one, whatever it may be, I think we'll always have a really special affection for whichever cup we win first. And if that's the Carabao Cup, then I think it'll be the Carabao Cup, and we'll have it forever. You know, like I think about the Wigan fans who their club's in a mess now, but they won the FA Cup against Manchester City. We've not done that in living memory. You know, Portsmouth have won the FA Cup. You know, Oxford, Sunderland have won a cup in not that far away. So those clubs have got something that Middlesbrough, yeah, those clubs have got something that we haven't got yet. So I want us to join that club, and I desperately want us to win something at some stage. We will win something at some stage. But if it can be this weekend, it would just be amazing. And I would honestly feel like one of my life goals, which I've got absolutely no control over, which I've got no influence over whatsoever, but I'll feel like I've achieved something in my life, which is so stupid. But that's how I feel about it. It's just like I've got no sway over this whatsoever, but it's an obsession, you know. It's something that has been there forever, and if we can do it, it'll just be the best feeling in the world, I think. Don't tell my wife and kids that I've said that, but yeah. So it is. Keegan, I'll come to you. What's your how does you feel about this at the moment? What does it mean to you?
No, I agree. You always remember your first one the most, don't you? So it's always the most memorable.
Unless you've drunk a bit too much.
Yeah. So it means a lot. Look, like everyone else has said, it's like the platform to start with expectations and stuff like that. It's the way to try and drive the club forward and aim higher. Like this year, we could win the Carabao Cup. Next year, let's try and finish in the top 4 or win the FA Cup, whatever it is. It's the sort of benchmark of what you expect now. And then with the investment that's obviously going to happen in the future as well, this is the new benchmark. Like we should be expect to be challenging for trophies from here on out now. So that's what it means. It means this is where we see ourselves, and this is where we should be. We should be in the mix every year from now on.
And don't forget as well that Pep Guardiola takes the Carabao Cup seriously. They've won it 5 out of the last 7 years or something. You know, he uses it to play squad players as well. But managers just want to win things, so they take it really seriously. Like it's funny when Jose Mourinho counts the Community Shield as a trophy. He talks about the titles he's won. So, and I think this is a good game for the kind of the neutral as well, because it's not Manchester City v Chelsea or something, you know, like two clubs whose this is the fourth priority for. It's a game that is very significant for us, and it is significant for Man United as well, because they're on a devastating trophy drought of 6 years. But they haven't won anything, so they need to. I know, yeah, you got to feel for them. So they've got to sort.
But given the way their season started, though, and all the noise around Ten Hag when it didn't look like it was going to make 10 games, you know, you have to agree and understand that this is going to be a huge game for him personally, probably as much as the team as well. You know, that 6-year drought, poor bastards, man. You know, poor, unbelievable.
You got to feel for them.
Heart breaks.
I've been thinking about this a little bit as well. Do you think that the staff and the coaches and the players of Newcastle actually truly understand what they're on the verge of here? Because I've seen interviews with Sean Longstaff and Dan Byrne. I think, you know, they're local lads. They get it, I think. Eddie Howe is just so focused on the next game. He's good at screening all of the noise out, and I think he understands the history of the club. He obviously knows the stats about how long it is since we've won anything. Maybe it's better that they don't think too much about the gravity of it, because if they do, they could be sort of bowed under that pressure a little bit. But I'll just throw it out there. Do you think anyone who wants can answer this? Do you think that the players actually understand, what they're on the verge of here? Who wants to take that one?
I think they probably will as soon as they walk out onto that Wembley pitch and they see the surroundings, the noise, the flags, all the fans. If that doesn't hit them and kind of give them an idea of what's at stake and what they're there for, then I don't suppose much else will. And as for Eddie Howe, he's a clever bloke. Like he's a clever bloke. He's very considered. I think he always tries to say the right things as well. It won't be the same as for us fans. It won't be the same as. Won't be the same kind of impact if we win and that kind of thing. But it'll be great for his CV to, it'll be wonderful for him to have that kind of record behind him of having won a cup. So you'll appreciate that side of things. But I think you really have to be from the area. You have to have suffered, like most of us have suffered on this bloody club, to really grasp what it might mean if we should lift that trophy.
So I reckon that's why the players will be on form. They will be geared up for this, because there's no way that Dan Burn, Longstaff, Murphy, those sorts of players are going to be sitting there not drilling it into every single person in that dressing room how important this is for the club, for the region. I think everyone will be well aware of how big a game this is, and they'll be well up for it.
You've also got to look at Stevie Harper's still a goalkeeping coach, isn't he? And he played in the FA Cup final.
Academy
he was
coach,
there when we lost. Yeah. So he knows all too well what it's like to lose a final for Newcastle United. There's only one of that team, or that's part of that squad, that knows what it's like. Graham Jones, he's obviously black and white through and through, part of the coaching team. There's a lot of Geordies in there. And as Mark said, they will have it drilled into them what it's going to mean to lift that trophy. They've got a chance to write their name in folklore and to never have to buy a pint on Tyneside ever again if they get that job done on Sunday night, Monday morning, whatever it is. And I can't see the lads just sitting back and not doing anything, just absorbing the pressure. They will give it 100%, and all because of the local focus we've got within that squad and coaching team.
And there's a cup game. Cup games are different to normal games anyway. There's all kinds of things going on in cup games, so you've got all that as well.
And at the same time, though, it's a balance, isn't it? Because Eddie's going to be saying to them, this is just another game. Let's stick to what we've been doing. Let's stick to the process, trust the process, all of the things that he says in every press conference. It's just another game. We'll approach it how we approach any other game. But maybe he wants to try, and he's a smart guy, that podcast he did, the high performance podcast, was amazing. But he's going to want to tap into the kind of psychology of things as well. Not overdo it, not rev everyone up so much. We don't want to be a team of David Luiz at the World Cup semi-final in Brazil, where he was just in absolute bits before the game even started. But we want to try and use the positive energy and all of the support from everyone. There must be probably 60,000 Geordies are going to be down there in London, and he's going to want to harness that for good in the game. But how do you do it without revving people up too much? And we don't want Joe Linton to go piling into somebody and getting sent off after 3 minutes.
If anyone is, it's going to be him, though. That's the thing.
It is, Iron.
So it's a real balance, I think, and it's going to be interesting to see how they approach that. We've kind of touched on this already, but what does this mean to the club at this stage, sort of post takeover, to be in the cup final? I think we kind of understand that it's a bit earlier than we thought it was going to be. I don't think any of us thought we'd be in a cup final this soon. We said that a cup run would be good and a top half finish or a top 8 finish. But Bobby, you can take this. What does it mean to the club at this stage post takeover to be in a cup final?
I think it shows they're on the right track more than anything. I think they got the appointment of Eddie Howe right. They got their transfers right, and they'd be confident now, knowing they're on a path to success. And winning one this early, I don't think it changes the plans or does anything along those lines, but it would just be a real bonus, I suppose, and a real, fillip for the club and a real boost to the next 5-year project that they've had, because I think we've said this is the start of the journey. It's not, it's different from all the other years, in the 90s, early 2000s when we made it. It wasn't a dawn of an era, or we know that we've got a lot of success coming. We thought we did, but this feels different. This feels like, all right, this is the start. If we win it, unreal. But we're going to be in a lot more of these top games in the future.
Yeah. And yeah, like we said before, we're going to hopefully be in finals of maybe more prestigious competitions, but we don't know how long that's going to be. And to get this, to become winners already, like you look through the squad and not many of our players have won trophies. Kieran Trippier actually might be the only one who's won a major significant trophy. So to get that tag straight away as we're winners, we know how to win things. I think psychologically that could be absolutely huge. But Dimmy, it sort of is a bit earlier, isn't it, than expected? This it's a cup competition, so anything can sort of happen. We've had a good draw and we've got there. Even under Steve Bruce, we got to quarterfinal of the FA Cup, I think it was, and under Rafa as well, we got to the quarterfinal of the League Cup, and we got hammered by Man City one time and hammered by Spurs one time. But it is early, kind of, isn't it? You wouldn't have expected at this stage for us to be in this position.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, we're just used to being knocked out the first weekend of the FA Cup and knocked out in the third or fourth round of the League Cup, usually by a League One team, or somehow always a Premier League team gets drawn against us. We lose on penalties at home. It's one of those weird games in August or September and you just forget about it. You forget about the Carabao Cup. It's over before it starts for us. So it is strange, but I think it does set, for the club overall, it sets the expectation that we're here now to compete. We're not going to be a club that's just going to tick along, or however else that twat used to say. We're here to win things. We're here to compete to win things, and as fans, that's all we can ask for. As long as we're competing and we're actually pushing to win trophies, that's all we need. And I think to set that expectation now, obviously we desperate to win it, but to set the expectation that this is what we as a club are going to be expecting, not to say we're going to make a final every season, but we're in the conversation. That's important for us in our next step, to be in the conversation.
Let's just have a think then. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about the Premier League, but you kind of can't talk about the game without thinking a bit about recent form, and we've kind of all got different sort of viewpoints on that and how damaging and how big of a blip we're going through. But the bare facts are that we've won 1 and drawn 5 and lost 1 of the last 7 league games. So there's no doubt that we're going into this not in very good form in the league. But if you look at before since the World Cup, in all competitions, we've won 6 and we've drawn 5 and we've only lost 2. One of them being that Sheffield Wednesday game where we made 8 changes. So the cup form has been really good. The Southampton games were back to back, obviously, over 2 legs. But is the league form going to have much bearing on this game? Or Keegan, I'll throw this one to you. Or do you think this is a complete one-off where anything can happen? And do you think Eddie will be focusing more on the fact we've got through 4 or 5 rounds of the cup to get to this point?
I think that it does have our form is our form. You can't just switch it on and off depending on what competition you're playing in or anything like that. Like, I understand maybe in a 2-legged semi-final, if you were 2-0 down after the first leg, you just throw caution to the wind because you don't really care. Goal difference is an issue, but you're right. You are right. Like, finals are different, but our form's our form. Our last seven sort of league games, our form doesn't lie. We really haven't deserved to win probably any of the games that we've drawn as well. I mean, even the one against Fulham, you could put a pretty strong case. We probably should have drawn that as well with Mitro's penalty cock up. So, yeah, I'm definitely concerned. Yeah, the rat. I am definitely concerned about our form leading into the game, and our opponents are quite the opposite. They seem to be just getting better and better every week, and we seem to be sort of getting worse and worse. So, yeah, going into the final, you probably you'd love to be in their shoes more than our shoes.
What about the fact we've already played Man United once this season at Old Trafford and we came away with quite a decent draw? Mark, I'll throw this to you. Do you think that'll have any sort of influence on this game? Because that game we could have lost towards the end. We were hanging on at the end there, but at the same time we could have gone in. We could have gone in at half time ahead because Joe Linton missed chances and Wilson should have possibly had a penalty as well. So do you think Eddie will be sort of harking back to that game at all while preparing for this one?
I think it's probably going to come into his team talk in terms of that we can go toe-to-toe with them and we shouldn't be frightened of them. But it's hard to kind of draw anything from that game. If that was 2 weeks ago and we sort of competed with them, then great. The fact it was so long ago and we've deformed significantly since then, that me is probably more of a worry. Look, I'll be honest, I was kind of semi-confident right up until the Liverpool game. And then the way that we kind of, when you start reflecting back on, we're conceding sloppy goals, we're not pressing opponents as much as we were in, say, before the World Cup, the first half of the season. It's just not kind of filling me with a lot of confidence over this game, that has to be said. But, as everyone says, it's a one-off cup game. It's a one-off game. Leave everything out on the pitch. There's no kind of prizes for second best. We don't even get a European qualification if Man United do qualify for the Champions League. So go out there, give it everything, press them like we used to press all the teams, and see if we can force some errors off them. Hopefully capitalize on our chances. I don't think it's like a we've been playing really well, they're playing really badly, let's go out there and have at them, because it's the exact opposite. And I think that's got to come into the factor. And our form, as Keegan said, is not great. We need to kind of, as we said on the podcast the other night for the Liverpool game, it was like, hopefully this is that kick up the arse, that kind of write off all of the bad stuff that has been happening. There's no records anymore. There's no clean sheet sort of ongoing sort of issues going on. We've lost a game, we've conceded goals, we're not scoring goals. So forget all of that. Just go out there and work as hard as you were at the end of last season that got so much success. And see if maybe this is the catalyst that we need to claw back some of that momentum off the back of this game as well for the league.
All right, Dimmy, me and you are the XG wankers of this the Toon Under Pod, and Bobby as well.
Didn't have to say XG.
But tell us, sort of, just for a little bit of balance, just with regard to the form. We've had a little look at the sort of the XG, which some people don't like, but yeah, can you explain why we maybe shouldn't be quite as worried about that form using that particular metric, controversial metric?
Yeah, exactly. So the chances have still been there. I think there was a stat on the socials yesterday by Kev Lawson, who does great with these stats. I think our goals we've scored, I think 5.2 or there was something like that. We've scored 5 goals since the World Cup, but our expected goals in the Premier League were about 12.5 or 12.6. So there's the quality of chances that we've been creating since the World Cup have been very good. We're just not taking the chances, which is obviously a huge problem. But it's hard to ignore the fact that we are still creating great chances. And I always talk about the law of averages, and I do love stats and I do love numbers. I'm an accountant, yay! But numbers don't lie, and piss off, Lee. The numbers don't lie, but eventually things average out. Law of averages. So I'm hoping that this week's the week for us, and those stats do show that we're still creating the chances. So it's not as if we're playing shocking football every week and not forcing the goalkeeper to any save. So that's what I'm going to keep hanging my hat on.
Yeah, and it's a one-off game, so anything could happen, like we keep saying. And I think that's what I was talking about, the approach. Go on.
Sorry, Jack. Yeah, I think with these kind of games especially, it comes down to how you manage the occasion. It's always discussed in these kind of things. Every game is an occasion, of course, and it always comes down to management. But in cups, in particular, it really does matter. And a lot of times, it's better to run out as the underdogs because that gives you a narrative that you can fight against the big guys, and you can, the world against you, and you can kind of fortify your minds, and you can go out there and play with a little bit more freedom. I think for this game in particular, I think we are probably going to be, well, I mean, let's be honest, we are the underdogs, given how poor our form has been, as you've mentioned. But I think Eddie Howe's clever. He'll use that. He'll use that in our favour, and he'll have us coming out absolutely raring to go. And I think it just comes down to how these guys manage the occasion. Can they keep calm? Can they keep the heads? Yes, Joe Linton, please don't get sent off, you absolute knacker. Or Bruno, for that matter, or anybody. Don't get sent off, for Christ's sake. Karius, please do not get sent off. I don't want to see Gillespie in goal, for God's sake. So it's just about keeping level heads, It's in going out there as the underdogs and using that as the power to kind of give it a good go. It's a cup competition; anything can happen. We don't even know if Man United is going to come out with a full strength 11. For all we know, they might not. I mean, they probably will, but you don't know that, do you? And we will be going on full strength. So I think all that stuff comes into it as well.
Let's just allow ourselves to consider for a minute that we might lose this game, because we are underdogs. I think before Pope got suspended, we were probably slight underdogs, and before maybe Liverpool, before our form dropped a little bit. But now I'd say we're probably more significant underdogs. But Craig, if we lose this game, how big a setback do you think it would be, sort of in the context of this season and just the club's overall position and situation at the moment?
Not a setback at all. Yes, it's a drop chance of silverware, but we made it to the final. Nobody expected it to get you. Yeah, I did joke on that we would make it, but I never actually expected it to happen because, as we mentioned earlier on before, we never took the cup seriously. And we all knew this season was about league progression and whether we'd have the squad depth to even make an impact in the cups. Thankfully, we have. But now that squad has been depleted by a less than excellent January transfer window, and some players ineligible to play for us, like Gordon. The pressure, I think, is all on Man United, purely because of the fact that they are the favourites to win it. We're not. We're clearly not going to be the favourites. The bookies will say that whichever way, and the pressure is going to be all on them. And they've still got to get something result from Barcelona, where they played Old Trafford. I think on Friday morning for us when they play. So, as Lee said, they might not put out a full strength 11. They may pick up some injuries in that game. They might have some dodgy Payala where they'll all get the shits halfway through. Who knows? Anything can happen on the run up to. The bus on the way to Wembley might get a puncture and they might miss the actual game anyway. Who knows? But I do think Man United, they're going to feel the pressure a bit because it's their first major final for a while. Say 6 years or whatever it may be, compared to ours. But it's all on them. We can go and we can go and enjoy ourselves. And I think that's what we need to do. Just relax, play the type of football we can. And if we do play anywhere like we did earlier on in the season, with a game the likes of Brentford and Fulham, that type of thing, we will cause them problems. And I think they know that as well. And I think that's what they're going to be a little bit worried about.
It's interesting with Man United because I remember going to Cardiff in 2005 to the FA Cup semi-final. And that was a huge occasion for us because we don't get to semi-finals very often. And Man United won 4-1. Luckily for them, Nicky Butt was playing for them, but in black and white that day. He was terrible. But what really struck me was we were staying in Bristol and we were out in Cardiff afterwards, and there were no Man U fans left. They just didn't care. Like they're so used to success, to winning things, that the FA Cup semi-final was no big deal for them. Eventually, probably, we might get to that stage, but we're definitely not at that stage yet. But do you think, Bobby, this one's for you? Do you think that this is very subjective, but do you think this means more to us? We're Newcastle fans, so we're going to say yes. But does it mean more to us, to our club, than it does to Man United to win this? Or is that it? Does go on? Yeah,
absolutely, it does. I can see it with my mates as well, who are Man United fans. It's just like, they want to win it. It's a cup, and they want to win it more because otherwise I won't shut up. But for them, they're looking at Champions League, they're looking at the title now, and they're looking at bigger picture stuff. And for little old Newcastle, who's been in the dump for that long, this is literally it's a lot. it means a lot, and it would mean a lot. So, in comparison stakes, yes, it does. We are, more invested in winning this than they are, but that's not to say that they won't take it as seriously as us on the field and where it matters the most. I think Lee brought it up earlier with Ten Hag. I think this would be good for his start to his legacy because they've had a shit run of managers for such a long time. So for him to get a trophy early on will solidify the faith that he's got within that club. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day that we want it more than them. That's not going to count on the day. But if you're asking me subjectively, yeah, it obviously does, I think.
Yeah, but Man United are not what they used to be. Like, they're not trophy machine anymore. They've had the difficulties, as probably was always going to happen after Sir Alex Ferguson left. They've had that transition period, and they finally seem to have alighted upon a good manager just in time for us to play them in a cup final, which is typical. When we played them in '99, they were on the way to the treble, and when we played Arsenal in '98, they were on the way to the double. So it doesn't really. We're just and then we're not the most lucky of clubs in some ways, are we? Only Newcastle would have the goalkeeper calamitously sent off before the game as well.
It wasn't even close to his box. He was freaking miles out of it. Just a thought that occurred to me though. Would it mean more to Man United to keep Newcastle down for another season? Like, as far as the clubs are concerned, to prevent us from getting that first step on the ladder towards, world domination? Does it matter to Man United more? Could it matter to more to them just to stop us from winning it, as much as it is about them winning it themselves?
Could do, yeah, potentially, I suppose.
I don't see Man United really looking at us as a genuine threat like that, like the same as maybe a Tottenham would. I think Spurs are probably they will see it as competition, but I think Spurs would probably see themselves as like the lowest hanging fruit of that big six that we would potentially be picking off first. And that's that. I mean, I'm not actually being disrespectful to Spurs, but they're not the big spenders like the other of the big six are, and they're not trophy mongers like the others have been. So look, it is that I think Spurs will see us more as a threat in the short term. Man United probably do see us as a threat in the long term, but I don't think they really care. They'll just want to win this just to get another trophy in the cabinet and sort of more to probably tick off against Man City and Liverpool and all those sorts of clubs that they want to show that they're still there and still boss.
Right, I'm really excited about this question. We've spoken about this a little bit before, but Bobby, you've spoken about this before, so I'll come to you first. But let's say that it's 4:30 in the morning on Monday morning, and the final whistle has just gone, and Newcastle have won this cup. None of us can. I can't imagine how that's going to feel. You've had experience of Richmond in the AFL, the Aussie rules, where they didn't win anything for a lot of years, and then in 2017, was it, they won the first flag? So,
yeah,
you tell us how that feels, because I can't imagine what it's actually going to feel like when that happens. What's it like for your club to win something after so long?
It's 2023, so it's been 6 years, and I can still remember the feeling I had when the siren was gone. It was like an out-of-body experience. I mean, granted, I was there on the day, so that sort of had a little bit more to play with it, but it actually felt like, I was having an out-of-body experience. The joy was just something you can't describe. I mean, it's like, I've got to say this, but when you have your child, that moment, you don't believe it's real. You just can't sum it up in words, and I think that's exactly what it was like. Yeah. But that's when you go to you've got this feeling, but I can still to this day pinpoint that memory or that feeling I had when the final siren went. And I think when that happens for us, it'll be a lot of emotions leaving the body, and that will be different for everyone of what they feel. But I think it'll just be, relief, joy, frustration, everything that you felt emotionally with this club will leave your body at that moment, and you'll never forget it. You won't forget that moment in time.
Keegan, how about you? Geelong.
Yeah, well, I was different because with Bobby, Richmond had been shit for years, and then they'd sort of come good that year. And no, it's fact they were
37 years they were shit for.
So they've been shit for it's fact. So and then they'd sort of come good that year and won the grand final. Where sort of my sort of teenage and younger years, Geelong were making grand finals and losing. They lost 4 grand finals in 8 years or 7 years. So it was that build up of heartbreak and heartbreak and heartbreak. And then in 2007, when they finally won it, the game was over at half time. So there was no nervous energy. I think in 2007, I think Richmond it wasn't until the last quarter when Richmond sort of felt comfortable enough to say that they were going to win. And the stupid thing is, we were 10, 11 goals up at halftime, and everyone was shitting themselves, saying, "Oh man, I hope we can hold on." And then we were 90 points up at 3/4 time, and my friends were still "Oh, I don't know." No one's ever scored 90 points in a quarter of AFL, and they're "Oh, I don't know." And we're "We're home, just enjoy it." So it's going to be nothing like that this weekend. I don't think we'll ever probably be in a position where we feel entirely comfortable about winning. Even we would be the same. If the crazy thing happens and we're four goals up in the injury time, there'll still be people shitting bricks thinking, "I hope nothing goes wrong here." It's Newcastle. I hope nothing goes wrong. But yeah, it's just, you just got to enjoy it, and you sort of got to the best way I think to describe it was, you've got to you've got to go all in on it to get it all back out again. If you're only sort of like Lee, he's not 100% in on it. He might be 80% in on it, 20%. It's not really that big a deal. Well, I know Craig's been having wet dreams about this since the semi-finals. So he's already openly admitted he's going to be crying for a week if we win. So he's balls deep. He's all in. He doesn't and if we win, he's gonna it's all gonna come out on him. And that's the way you got to be with these things. If that's one thing I could pass on, is don't be scared to put yourself out there, because you might lose. Throw yourself into it and hope you win.
Because ultimately, it's that thing we've got no control over it. So we can't we've got no sitting in Brisbane, or we've got absolutely no control over what happens here. So we can try and regulate how we feel about it, I guess, and it's a defense mechanism.
Superstitions? Does anyone have superstitions? I used to have a rule where I'd never wear club colours the day of a game, because I thought we'd lose every time we wore it. So I'd never wear, on the Saturday, I'd never wear any Newcastle gear on Saturday, because I thought we'd lose if I wear it, because we lost a few games.
I told Jack, it's I had an Eddie Howe picture on my phone, a screensaver on my phone. When he first got put in as manager, and we didn't win any games, we were losing games still, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm going to take him off just in case I'm cursing him." And then we went on a massive winning streak, so he's never been back on my phone.
Dimmy, you're probably the only other one who's ever seen any of your teams win anything, because you've got about 86 different sporting teams all across the world.
Dimmy's just hedging his bets, isn't he?
One of your teams must have won a trophy at one point. So who was it? If go with Philly
or Philly.
No. So I've been lucky enough to be at 4 winning grand finals for Melbourne Victory, home and away, 2 winning cup finals, and also lucky enough to see the 2015 Asian Cup final when Socceroos beat Korea, which was amazing. And yeah, I'm fully on board with what Keegan said. You have to go all in, and as you boys know, I'm 100% all in all the time. Probably too much. Mrs. will tell me probably too much. I mean, last week when the Eagles lost the Super Bowl, I don't think I slept for 3 days. I was just watching the replay every night before I
Your
went to
Twitter
bed.
was gold, mate. Your Twitter was gold.
Mate.
Getting
For
your
about
voodoo doll out and stabbing the
Took it well.
Death
Took it well.
the umpire.
Death threats, yeah. For 3 days, I'd be watching the replay, just trying to understand it. It's this. You just, I don't know. It's hard to explain how much I put into it. And obviously, I care deeply about a lot of the teams. Victory is different for me because I travel home and away. So you've got that connection. You go into the games. I've also seen heartbreak. I've seen 2 penalty shootout losses, which is still haunts me to this day. So there's good and the bad. But like Keegan said, you have to go all in. And if you do go all in, the wins do feel that much better. I remember the last victory that I went to, or the last trophy that I saw, was victory last year, FA Cup final. We'd just come off 2 seasons of absolute shit. We finished last, with the laughing stock of the league, and winning a trophy is not something that you can never take for granted. So you've got to go all in and leave it all out there.
Yes, you're a very all-in person, aren't you? That's great.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
sometimes.
Your Twitter is
Unfortunately,
absolutely phenomenal when one of your teams is lost.
oh,
or
mate.
some injustice has happened.
I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky that the missus doesn't invest as much into sport as I do. Otherwise, I don't think this house would survive. Yeah, or Twitter. Yeah,
I never knew dog was such an insult until I followed you on Twitter. It's brilliant.
right. Yeah. It's not a good thing, no.
God, you
All right,
upset some Americans.
Good. Fuck them.
There he is. There he is.
Hi to all our American friends who watch us.
Fuck you from Australia. This game's a 2:30 a.m. kickoff in the Sunshine State, and it's a 3:30 a.m. kickoff in the other East Coast states, and it's in Perth. It will be a 12:30 kickoff maybe, and Adelaide there's some weird half-hour thing, so I'm not even gonna say what time that is. But so yeah, it's the middle of the night. It's a Monday morning. Obviously, we're not going to work the next day. We all booked that off fairly sharpish. But I just want to ask where you're going to be watching it and who you're going to be around. Craig, you haven't spoken for a while. You'll be at home, I guess. There's no Newcastle supporters club in Mackay yet, is there?
There's not one in Mackay yet, but I'll gladly build one if there's a few out there. But now I'll be watching it at home. I mean, new TV. Fuck, I blew up the other day. So I'll be watching on that. I'll have the wife awake purely because she's not going to be able to sleep anyway because I'll be shouting the house down regardless. And now it'll just be me and the neighbours because I'll be keeping them awake too. So it'll be a case of whether it be a goal we score, goal we concede, every free kick, every corner, every pass, I'll be cheering everyone as if it's the last kick before that final whistle and we're going to win it. And yeah, the neighbourhood is going to know when that final whistle goes and we lift that trophy because I'm going to shout this fucking place down to the ground.
You should put a sign on the lamppost tomorrow just saying, sorry about the noise already on Monday morning.
Yeah.
Sorry in advance.
I get evicted, probably not mate. Look, I own the place, so that's alright. But I probably be getting evicted. But hey ho, it'll be worth it.
Keegan, what about you? 3:30 on Monday morning. You've got a new job.
Yeah, so I'm the only sucker who doesn't have Monday off. So
Schoolboy.
Terrible time.
Can't have time off if you don't have the day to take off. It's a fact. So yeah, I think.
Keegan.
Oh yeah, when everyone starts watching that I'm on this podcast, it's going to go down well, isn't it? Yeah, no, I've got a big Saturday planned actually, so I'll be pretty shit-faced that day. I'll try and get up early Sunday morning to make sure I'm tired Sunday night, so I can get a good kip in beforehand, and then we'll see what happens after the game finishes. So I am fortunate I do start a bit later this job than what I normally have been starting the last 20 years. So I do get I can sleep in a little bit extra. So
I'll get that alarm.
Yeah.
On
Don't
just in
even
case you miss
think
the
about
kickoff.
falling asleep after the cup final. Win or lose. It's not
or if we lose, I'll be finding some sedatives to try and get myself to sleep and turn my phone off. But if we win, I think I'm a psycho and don't drink coffee or energy drinks or anything like that. So yeah, I'll be riding the high of life all Monday afternoon at work.
I can get you some meth through my work. I could do that if you want. That'd help.
Does that keep you awake or?
I better edit that out. Actually, Queens and Health won't like that. So I just said that.
I was
Dimmy,
thinking drug checks on Monday.
Yeah, Dimmy, where are you watching it?
Yeah, so I'll be at the Imperial. There's a Aussie Mags event down in Melbourne and on Burke Street at the Imperial Hotel. So any Aussie Mags or Newcastle fans listening who don't know, get down to the Imperial. I'll be, my heart's actually starting to race a little bit, which is a bit frightening. And it's only Tuesday evening in Melbourne, but I'm starting to shit myself. But yeah, I'll be in the city from about probably 8:30 p.m. and the game's at 3:30 a.m. So that's 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. It's about 6 or 7 hours pre-kickoff that I'm meeting a few boys to get started. And it's going to be a tough Sunday because Victory's on at 3 p.m. And then I've got to somehow get home after Victory for a couple of hours and then get back into the city. And it's going to be very ugly on Monday morning. If win, lose, or there's no draw, win or lose, it's going to get ugly. So I can't wait, and I'm definitely going to be awake for the game and not shit-faced like some people may have been at our previous catch-up at the Sydney event. But I'll definitely remember the game. But yeah, I'm actually shitting myself as I'm talking now. So Imperial Hotel in Burke Street, that's where I'll be.
Yeah, that's got over, I think, 80 or 100 people or something signed up.
200.
For that one. So 200. That's good. That's mad. There is meetups going on all over Australia through Aussie Mags. So if you're listening, have a check out of their page. Lee, what about you?
Yeah, well, I mean, the other one over in Brisbane, the Pig and Whistle down by the riverside there. I was kind of hoping you, Jack, and you, Mark, might get together for this one, but you're all pissing off and doing your own things. So I'm in two minds whether I'm going to do that, because it'd be amazing if you just knew what was going to happen. It'd be like, all right, brilliant, because I want to be there if we win, because being by yourself when you win something like this is just absolutely going to be horrendous. But like, if you lose, you probably want to be by yourself, not around all these other people. So I don't know. I mean, it's I either go out to the Pig and Whistle or stay in the house. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do, to be honest with you. I'll decide on the day.
Yeah, I've got an 8-week-old baby, and a wife who really wants to watch the match, and a father-in-law as well. So I've said I'll watch it with them. But if we're like you're saying, I don't really want to be pissed in Brisbane at 4:30 on a Monday morning if we've lost. But
lots of my fans there as well.
Yeah, if we win though, I'm getting on that first bus into town with all the commuters, and I'm just going to go and find a bottle that's open somewhere, and there'll be pokies open somewhere. I'm just going to go and do that, and then just I'm just going to have a good day. I think some of the lads who are at the meetup will hopefully still be out. So yeah,
well, I might be a star. Yeah, I'll be in the bushes somewhere probably if we've won.
It'll be magic. Bobby, what about you? What way are you watching, Bobby?
I've got 3 options. I haven't decided exactly yet where. I've got my mate's pub here in Ballarat with a couple of other mags who are they're not huge mags, to be honest. They're just part-time mags, but he's
people bullied into it.
Yeah, pretty much. He's willing to open the pub upstairs for us and stuff. So that might be an option. The other option is go to Melbourne with my brother and mates who are all Manchester United fans and go to their local pub that they're going to go see the game at. Or the third option is I might just want to stay at home and watch it by myself because I'm too scared of what's going to happen. And I'll decide closer to the date. But one of those 3 things is what I'll be doing.
Get some pyro and go meet Dimmy at Red Square.
Yeah.
Black and white square.
If we win, I'll go and meet Dimmy, no matter what.
Mark, last but not least, because you've got a pretty exotic location for this one. That was well planned, wasn't it?
Well, it was kind of like just dawned on me when we're trying to plan stuff, and the other half was, we're in Vegas then, right? So I was like, oh crap, okay. So yeah, I'm going to be in Vegas for it. It's an 8:30 a.m. kickoff over there on the Sunday. So early start. I'm going to try and head through to the Crown and Anchor, which is where all the Toonami Las Vegas crowd meet up. So hopefully there'll be a few of us there to either celebrate or commiserate together. It should be good. I'll get my colours on and out and about. So yeah, apologies for all of those earlier comments from Dimmy. Please don't hold that against me when I'm over in the US. But yeah, look, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's good that I can go and watch it with some fellow mags, and then head out and do cheap drinks in Vegas and get absolutely hammered. So street drinking, all night
Weddings.
bars.
Got
a trip to the Grand
and then
Canyon the next day.
and then you'll be getting married, which will be good for everybody.
No,
Exactly.
yeah, hopefully not.
End of the shotgun.
I don't know. Probably not.
My eldest.
Don't wake up with a tiger in your room or anything like that.
Who cares? If we've won the cup, really, who cares? Who cares what you wake up next to? Has anyone got anything else to say before we wrap up? The floor is open. Has anyone got anything else to say about this before we finish? Craig, you want to say something?
I'll give my prediction, and I think we'll win 2-0.
Yeah.
2-0.
I love that.
Aye.
All right. I wasn't going to do predictions, but let's do it quickly. Craig says 2-0. Win. Keegan?
2-0 loss.
Boo.
Nostradamus?
2-1 win.
Lee?
5-1 win. Oh,
Fucking idiots, guys.
Oh, yeah, man.
If you're right,
Marcus.
Lee, I'll tell you. If Lee's right, I've got to do something. So you pick what you want me to do, and if we win 5-1, I'll huh?
I'm going to grow some hair, then dye it.
Tattoo on your face.
Tattoo on my
Tell you what
face.
it feels
Done.
like. Boom, across your forehead. Yeah, that'll do.
Bobby,
Done.
prediction?
2-1 loss.
Mark, prediction?
I don't really care as long as we win, to be honest. Look, I'm going to go for a scrappy 1-0 win.
I'm going to say this in the hope that this is a reverse jinx, but I think 1-1 defeat on penalties. Sorry.
Oh,
Reverse jinx.
Jackman, how
Go for
Maybe-
the worst possible outcome.
Maybe the best thing is to put some big money on that and then put money on a penalty defeat, and then at least there's some compensation.
Don't hedge. Don't emotionally hedge. That's what my mate does all the time. He emotionally hedges every.
The one thing that I do predict is that if at all possible, VAR will screw us over.
Oh, God.
Man United, after all.
Yep.
Right.
Right.
Good chat. We've got 6 days to go until kick-off.
Come on.
The build-up has started all over social media. I think we've done a good job of this tonight, but let's start getting excited. Let's allow ourselves to think about the game, think about the occasion. Tell your colleagues who don't care about football, tell them
Already have.
about this match. I've already
I've told
started
them.
doing that. Tell your friends in Australia, wear your Newcastle shirt to Coles or Woolies. Let's just get immersed in cup final fever. I think we're on the way to that. Let's imagine Kieran Trippier lifting that trophy with Jamal Lascelles. Let's imagine a sculptor chiseling away at a sculpture of Eddie Howe to go next to the one.
Oh, imagine what his pecs will look like.
James'
Oh, yeah.
We're on the verge. We're on the verge potentially of one of the most important and most influential days of our lives. Let's get into it. How are the lads?
Come on.
All right, lads.
See ya.
Sarah.
Later, guys.
Wow.